Hello and welcome. Welcome to the Rebel Ballerina Show. I'm Lisa Loree, the Rebel Ballerina, which that makes sense, right? It's my show. But yeah. Anyway, I hope you're doing well. We are definitely enjoying some gorgeous weather right now, which I will never, ever, ever, ever complain about. 80 degrees and sunny. So it's all good for me. Oh, but then, we do get our rain and stuff like that every once in a while. And that makes it even more fun to get rain because it's an anomaly instead of a drudgery day after day. I used to live in that. I like this much better. But hopefully, regardless of what your weather is like, hopefully you are having a good day and enjoying your life and finding joy. And it's funny because I'm really writing in earnest again, getting back into my book. And I recently wrote, I was like, I need to write a little introductory clarification page. Like, I'm snarky. I like to say sarcastic things. Um, I pretty much tell it like it is. So in other words, I don't sugarcoat. And then I put in parentheses, it's too much of a glycemic hit for your mind. And when I read that to my boyfriend, he was like, huh? So I thought maybe I should clarify that. Because part of me being the autist that I am, and I do find that really kind of funny that autistic, artistic are so very close in many ways. Certainly for me, that is the case. But I think differently than the average Joe. And so sometimes when I'll say something, I'll have to clarify it because people are like, wait, what? So this is what I mean, and I'll write it in my introduction to a little clarification. But yeah, because I'm sure if you've seen some of these past episodes, I've talked quite a bit about diabetes and or not hypo, but elevated glycemia, and just how really detrimental that is to your health. And it's becoming a little bit more well known, which is part of the reason I'm hyping on it, is because I want it to become very well known to the point where people are ready to actually make a difference for themselves and change some habits. And yes, that dratted word, change. But how is anything ever going to improve if it doesn't change? It's just like inherent in improving means something has to become different. Change. Nobody likes change, especially not people like me. I like my routine, but I've had to make some dramatic changes in this second part of my life. I feel like I am now that I'm approaching 60 in just a little bit, a few months, it's like I am doing a do-over and just beginning. And it's really fun because there are so many things that I've learned, that's what I'm doing on this broadcast here, is to share some of those things that I've learned. And one of those things, of course, is health issues and better health, how to get better health and why it's so important. And who's really responsible for that anyway? Is it the insurance company? Is it your doctor? Nope, it's you. Just like my health is my responsibility. That's just how it is. It's my body. I got to take care of it, right? So the whole glycemia thing, it's been very interesting to learn what I've learned over the course of the last 5 years. And thankfully it is becoming more well known, but I'm wanting to help that out. But glycemia, the influx of sugar into our systems, causing these elevated glycemic hits, and then that forces the body to then dump out even more insulin, which the body can't actually absorb into the cells like it's supposed to. And that's how you have insulin resistance, and then further into pre and full on diabetes, and even type 3 diabetes, which is um, Alzheimer's and dementia. They're um, people who are in the know are beginning to classify that as type 3 diabetes. And all of this stuff, type 2 and type 3, are completely preventable. And the good news is, if you're already in that, they are reversible, which is fantastic. So don't lose hope. If you are a diabetic, a type 2 diabetic, I'm not talking about type 1 pretty much ever. That's a whole different thing. What I'm talking about is what we do to ourselves. And yeah, that's what happened. We did this to ourselves, knowingly or unknowingly. It really doesn't matter at the end of the day, does it? If you have diabetes, does it matter if you did it on purpose or not? You got the thing. So now what? What do you do? Right? The thing is, because it happened through lifestyle stuff, you have the power to change that. And that is good news. That's super good news. And also, we have our power to change lots of things in our lives that I was completely in the dark about for the first 50 years, and set me up for a very traumatic and heartbreaking life in many, many areas. But now I know. So it's amazing the difference that you can have when you understand your power. And this is one of them. So what I was saying about my introduction and how I'm writing my book, and even you've heard it here, I don't sugarcoat. I pretty much just tell it like it is, right? If you've listened to any of my rants, you pretty much know that. And then I started thinking, because I was like, sugarcoat, yeah, because that's a total glycemic hit to your mind. And actually, I mean that. So if the glycemic hit to the body, what happens is that we become addicted to the sugar, and then we're not taking in proper nutrition. Our body's not functioning correctly. So what would be a glycemic hit to the mind? What I meant by that is two things. One, we have become, as a whole, and I'm making a huge generalization right now, but I can say specifically of me too, we have become intolerant of just hearing truth. I'm so offended. How dare. That's what I'm talking about. Come on, folks. One thing that I did learn, well, one of the myriad of things I've learned in ballet, don't take everything so freaking personally. Geez, if I had taken every correction that I've gotten in ballet personally, shoot, I would have offed myself decades ago. Geez, are you kidding me? Every single day in class, it is correction, 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 correction. And you have to understand that that's not meant to be taken personally. It's to help you be better. Right? So there's like this thing where we have an entitlement. We're expected to get a trophy for showing up. Oh, goody. Pat, 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 you participated. I'm so glad. So you've earned something. How is that earning anything? So we have that aspect of it. And then we have this intolerance for truth. And it kind of makes me think of the the question, and it's really a bad, mean question when you ask your spouse or significant other or whatever, the "Do I look fat in this dress?" question. Okay, A, if you really don't want an honest answer, don't ask that question. That's just rude, because you're setting yourself up either to hear truth and not be happy, as potentially, right? Or you're putting that other person in a position to have to lie or have a workaround or something. And there's a tension. There's a tension there, right? If you really want to know the truth, then be prepared to get off the sugarcoating in words. Because I feel like right now we're so afraid of speaking truth because we don't want to offend someone that we sugarcoat what really needs to be said, and it's not helping anybody. Now, don't take this as permission or get the wrong idea that I mean you can just go out and be like very harsh. And if you get that question, yeah, actually, you look like a cow. Don't say that. Okay. I mean, let's use some sense. Okay. That's not what I'm talking about. What I am talking about is being able to accept a criticism or constructive criticism, if you want to call it that, especially if you ask for it. Right? So when I go and take class, and it's kind of tricky because I'm an instructor at this studio. So people don't want to give me corrections. And I'm like, when I'm taking class, the reason I'm taking your class and not just doing my own class is because I can't see all of my own angles. I can't think about and see all the things that I need to do in real time. I need somebody else's eyes. I need to think of somebody else's combination and be thinking about how I'm putting that into my body. Real time, music's playing. There's so much stuff going on. Clearly, I know how to give myself a class. Clearly. I have been teaching for decades, really. And like full on for at least 10 years. Private lessons, everything. So it's not like I don't have the knowledge base, but what I need are the corrections so that I know that I am actually working correctly and improving at a pace that I want. And that, again, ballet is life. What a great life lesson, right? Don't expect sugarcoating. I mean, again, there have been some pretty harsh instructors I've had and directors, and they kind of seem like they're looking for who they can make cry on any given day. I have seen that. But on the flip side of that, we have to be able to not take things so personally and understand that they've got their own shit going on in their life and they're just deflecting it onto you. Right? So what it really boils down to is this whole sugarcoating of words being like having diabetes in the mind, if you will, is the lack of being able to not take things personally, and then the expectation of only hearing things that you want to hear. And part of that honestly stems from the fact that most of the time, most people spend their whole lives, and this is what I had to learn the extraordinarily hard way. We spend our whole lives listening to the KLI. KLIE, your 24/7 hour station of negativity that plays all the time, over and over, the things going on in your mind, telling you mostly lies, actually, and things that people have imparted into, implanted into you, coming from their own KLI and their own wrong thinking, or thinking that might suit them but not you. Like a parent trying to vicariously live through their child. Yeah, that works for their life, but not for the kid's life. What about the child that should own their own life and get to do what they want to do? That kind of stuff. So, how we manage our mind and how we speak is whether or not we're taking in too much sugar into our thinking, and what a detriment that is. We get addicted. We get addicted to sugar. We get addicted to sugar in our food. We get addicted to sugar coating and not, and being too thin skinned because we get offended so easily. And we become resistant to constructive things that point out where we need to change. And that's all to our detriment. We've really got to toughen up and not sugarcoat things. Again, don't be harsh. That's not what I'm talking about. But you can explain something calmly. Okay, so like does this dress make me look fat, or do I look fat in this dress question? Could say, you know what? I think maybe that's just not the right color for you. Or maybe that certain cut or line doesn't accentuate you as well as something else does. So you can put it in a way that's still on the positive. Like, you look really good in this, maybe just not that, you know. But on the flip side, we have to be able to go and hear, oh, okay. Notice that I'm not saying, yeah, you're really stupid for wearing that. I didn't say that. That would be something you could possibly take personally, and I could see why you would. But even if someone did say that, which is absurd, guess what? That's what we've heard all of our lives. That is what we've heard all our lives. And that's what's playing on the KLI playlist. So it's all part and parcel to each other. Do we get too addicted to the sugar and people having to tiptoe around how we speak to each other because we can't tolerate hearing just truth? Are we resistant to hearing what we need to hear in order to change? I will tell you, though, the one thing that came to me that began all of this change, and I allude to it all the time, and for good reason, because it was the starting point for me. When I heard David talk about how I created the life that I was living, he didn't sugarcoat that. That was not sugarcoated at all. It was a big piece of protein whacking me upside the head, basically. No sugar. No sugar. And it hurt. And I was pissed. I literally wanted to go punch him because I was incensed. Like, what? Why? Why would I have produced this shit heap of life that I'm living? Why would I have done that? And I found out it's because I didn't do it knowingly, but oh, it most certainly did happen because of this pattern I was stuck in. Now, if I had gotten offended instead of becoming, well, I was incensed, but if I allowed that to offend me, oh, how dare, he doesn't know my life. He doesn't know, I mean, he didn't. He didn't know me from anybody. Well, how could he say that? And he doesn't know, and I could just go and wallow in my misery and in my victimhood and all of that. And no change would have happened. And I, well, probably wouldn't be here right now because that's the course I was heading on. I don't know. It was bad. It was really, really bad. But instead, I had a ballet moment. And I went, wait a minute. What does that even mean? Let me analyze that. What do you mean? And so I ended up I mentored with him for a year. And it was astonishing. And through that began my journey of having an entirely different life, a healthy life, definitely healthier. And believe me, I'm still growing. I don't know everything. I don't pretend to know everything. I'm still learning, but I've learned so much, so many dramatic things in a short span of time, 10 years compared to the 50 that I spent in this horrible pattern that dictated a life I did not want. So if I would have sat there and been, where's my sugar? Give me my sugar. I want to hear it with sugar. And become offended, that would have worked to my demise. And if he would have, while he was standing on stage saying, well, your life probably isn't the way you really want it. And I mean, things happen and you're a good person and everything. And it's, probably not really your fault, but we have to fix some stuff. I mean, if he went about it that way with just dumping loads of sugar onto this thing that he was talking about, I wouldn't have gotten it. I wouldn't have heard, because that would have just fed the problem. Just like when you keep eating all the stinking sugar in your diet, you're going to keep having diabetic problems. Certainly at minimum, insulin resistance, which is a form of prediabetes. So it does work, whether we're talking about the physical body or we're talking about words and the mind. We don't want sugar anywhere. We can have tidbits of it. So I'm not hardcore. I am keto. I call it comfy keto because mainly Monday through Friday, I'm pretty strict in keeping on just eating a lot of protein and very little carbs, probably up to 20 grams of carbs per day. On the weekends, I do more carbs. Try not to go too crazy. Depends on what's going on, holiday time was like, ooh, well, I'm gonna enjoy some things, but I'm not eating it like I used to, that's for sure. And I figured out how to eat some things and not have the glycemic hit. Really quick tip: if you want to have some dessert or some kind of sweet or some kind of carb, make sure you eat a bunch of protein first, and that will actually reduce that glycemic hit. It's like a miracle. So if you have to have something, eat your protein stuff, your meat or whatever you're going to have as a protein, eat that first. Then you can have the carbs and you'll have less. I watched it because I was wearing my whatchamacallit thingy, doodad, that you poke in and it reads your glycemic, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. Monitor, that's it. Glycemic monitor. So I literally saw the difference from when I ate a slice of pie just randomly And wow, that was a spike. It was really hard to see, actually. And then I had another time, I had just eaten, I believe it was one hard-boiled egg, maybe two. And then I had the slice of pie, and it didn't spike nearly as high. I still had a spike. It still went up, but I mean, it was way, way less than the first one. So hey, that's fun. So in other words, I'm not saying that we never say nice things to each other. Go ahead and have some sugar in your speaking, but don't sugarcoat things that need to be said, need to be understood in order to benefit someone. Don't be harsh, but can we just have some honest conversation, for crying out loud, without taking each other's heads off, or without having to skirt around so much because we're afraid of offending. Let's meet in the middle, not sugarcoat, but not be harsh. Let's just have some good conversation, truthful conversation, where we can actually benefit each other and help each other out and grow, because life is supposed to be about joy and creating and having fun, living, not about stagnating. That's not life. That's not living. That's just occupying space. And I did that. I was really good at it for a really long time. Really bad. That's not the way to be. It's so much better to be joyful and fun and free. It's amazing. So that's my tidbit for today. There is too much sugar in our diets, and sometimes there's too much sugar coating in our words and in our minds. So there you have it. There's my explanation as to why I say I don't sugarcoat stuff. I like to say things like it is in a nice way, but we also need to be able to handle it, So go out there, have a great day. Think about where you're getting too much sugar in your diet and cut it out. And then tell me how you're feeling. I'd really love to know, actually. I would love to know how you're feeling, how you're doing with any of the stuff I talk about or anything at all. So yeah, pipe in sometime and let me know. Have a fantastic day, hopefully full of joy and fun and creativity and not too much sugar.